Trinidad just about set for the kickoff, and let's take a look at the lineups first of all.
Well, for the United States, Miola in goal, the back four of Doyle, Windishman, the captain, Trichu, and Paul Crumpy, a surprise starter. In midfield, they've got Bliss, John Harkes, Ramos, and Caligiuri, another surprise starter in midfield for the U.S. today. And up front, Bruce Murray and Peter Vermees, who has come over from Holland for this game. And a lot will be weighing on his shoulders, I think, and on Murray, who badly needs some goals for the United States. The Trinidad and Tobago team will have Maurice in goal, the back four of Morris, Francis, Foston, and Williams. And in midfield, Jamerson, Ladaby, Allen, and up front, Lewis, York, and Jones.
Referee for today's game is going to be a familiar person in terms of international soccer. He's Juan Lostau from Buenos Aires. He refereed during the Brazil-Chile match in which the Chilean goalkeeper, Roberto Rojas, was barred for life from faking an injury, barred for life from international play. The other officials, linesmen, are from Argentina as well, Carlos Esposito and Francisco Lamolina. And I would have to think that for the USA to have the good chance here, Seamus, they've got to use the crowd here, which will be against them, for positive energy.
Well, there's no question that the entire country has rallied behind this team, Trinidad and Tobago. They are just emerging, or beginning to emerge, from an economic depression, and everybody has rallied around this team as a kind of a symptom of that recovery. And there's an awful lot of emotion packed into these expectations. The players are under enormous pressure. They only have to tie, but
welcome back, everyone, to Port of Spain, Trinidad. The starting lineups for the U.S. national team. Miola will be in goal. Doyle, Windershman, Trichu, Crumpy at the back. Bliss, Harkes, Ramos, and Caligiuri in the midfield. And Murray and Vermees are at the top. On the opposite side, Michael Maurice will be in goal. Clayton Morris, Brian Williams, Dexter Francis at the back. Marvin Faustin, Russell Ladapi, Leonson Lewis in the midfield, along with Elliot Allen, Filbert Jones, Dwight York, and Kerry Jamerson up front as we are underway here in Port of Spain, Trinidad. And Seamus, a couple of surprise starters here for the U.S. national team.
Yes, very much so. Caligiuri in midfield, of course, has played a lot at sweeper position, played in midfield once already for the United States in the World Cup, but didn't look that comfortable. And he is a bit of a surprise starter. But Paul Crumpy is really the big shock because he's going to be playing at the wing fullback for the United States on the right side, and I expect they will hope to get some play from him in the way of an overlapping attack.
Michael Maurice there before Vermees can get a chance. Vermees and Murray are up top. Vermees in for Eric Eichmann, who has normally played that spot. Caligiuri in the lineup in midfield. John Stolmeyer not starting in this game. Jimmy Banks, Desmond Armstrong also not starting. Hence the replacements of Crumpy and Doyle.
The U.S. trying to put early pressure on and win the ball in the Trinidad Tobago's half, because Trinidad Tobago tends to play around a little bit on defense, and particularly early on can be a little bit lax.
Here comes Johnny Harkes to midfield, tripped up there by Filbert Jones. USA in their blue and white uniforms and the red and black are Trinidad and Tobago. They've never qualified for a World Cup, Trinidad and Tobago, whereas the USA last qualified in 1950. And for both of these teams, tomorrow begins a new day in one form or another. One of these teams will go on to Italy, and the other is back to the drawing board.
Well, there you saw Paul Crumpy already moving forward, and Windishman flighting that ball towards him. So Paul Crumpy will be putting in a lot of pace down that right side. If he can go 90 minutes in these hot conditions, however, is something else again. And John Stolmeyer not in the lineup.
Crumpy, a known commodity for the U.S. or to the U.S., but the Trinidad and Tobago side really don't know him, so that could be an advantage as well. Here's the long throw-in, middle of the box. Doyle up in the air, couldn't get it. Harkes heading it back out, a left-footed shot, or a left-footed shot by Harkes, I should say, goes high and away. But the U.S. must create some chances. They know, unlike other games, though, that they do need to score a goal. A 0-0 tie, not to be repetitive, but if you're just tuning in, a 0-0 tie does them no good at all. This is the final game of this round of qualifying. Costa Rica has already qualified, and one of these two teams will join them on the road to Italy.
And in fact, any kind of tie is no good to the United States. 0-0, 1-1, 7-7 doesn't do any good. They got to win.
Filbert Jones on the left, sending it across. Off Dwight York. York looking to gather it in. He was just signed by Aston Villa. Very young member of that team.
Very surprising signing there for Aston Villa.
17-year-old. Play to the right side for Williams. Over the shoulder, he had a tough son to look into as well, and it goes out of play.
Well, York very pleased. Also, Aston Villa won their match yesterday with Coventry City. That was in the local papers this morning, 4-1 for Villa. And they are up in the second or third place now in the first division. So he is going off to a team really on a roll. A bad mistake, like Caligiuri.
Coming back now, it's Trinidad. Broken up by Ramos. But there was a whistle and a foul. The USA currently tied with Trinidad in terms of points with 9 each, but in the goal differential, Trinidad has one more goal. That's the reason why the USA must win here, and that's the real reason why a tie would do them no good. They could have been in a better position had they won a couple weeks back in St. Louis against El Salvador, or maybe squeezed out a win instead of a tie down in Guatemala. So that goal differential hopefully doesn't come back and haunt the U.S., but that's why they need the win today. Costa Rica right now in first place, although Trinidad could end up there. On the free kick off the left footer is a block from Ramos and cleared out, but the referee has detected something, I think, prior to that kick.
Yeah, Ramos made an incursion beyond 10 yards. In other words, he ran forward to try to block that kick, and therefore was not 10 yards away from the ball when it was struck by the Trinidad player.
Hugo Perez is here, dressed as a reserve. Our best guess is that if the USA gets in a position where they need a goal, they will put him in, but he is not part of the starting lineup. A couple of other surprises. Frank Klopas not here with the squad. Neither is Marcelo Balboa, two guys who have been with this team, as Bob Ganser tried to make some changes for what really amounts to a 7th game of a World Series. All set for the restart. Elliot Allen tees it up with the left footer over the head of Tony Meola, and well out of play. There'll be a goal kick coming up for the USA. Speaking of Meola, his dad is here. John Hark's parents are here. There are quite a few people who have made the trip from the United States, although you won't notice them here today because they'll be drowned out, I'm sure, by the 30,000 plus fans here in Trinidad. Meola sent it long to midfield. Murray got a piece of it on the right sideline. Bruce Murray, 3 goals and action this year with the U.S. national team. Scored some big ones this year. Cleared back the other way. Doyle will race for it. Fakes back to Meola. Good move up the right sideline. And the USA with a little room. Harks to the middle. Broken up. And a foul as there was some holding going on. Allen tugging on to John Harks. Harks from the University of Virginia. He's going to leave it off now for Windishman. Played with a bad ankle back in St. Louis, but held up well in the 90-minute game. In fact, right now, Windishman, Harks, and Tritchu are the only players on this team to play the full 90 minutes, or to play all 90 minutes in every game of World Cup qualifying in this final round. Lead pass on the far side, and it went off Tritchu. Out of play. Throw-in coming up for Trinidad and Tobago. We're about 8 minutes into this game, and it is scoreless here in Port of Spain, Trinidad. The government has declared tomorrow a national holiday, whether Trinidad wins or loses. Such is the importance of this. And out of play it goes once more. USA will put it in play. A lot of pressure on Tony Meola, Seamus, because if they go forward knowing that they have to attack, they risk the counterattack and chances against Tony.
Well, and the good thing about Meola, I think, is that the players of the United States have tremendous confidence in him. He's made some great saves for them. He has not looked seriously threatened in most of the last few games. So they know they can. They've got somebody at the back who can pull out the game for them. But they got to score at the other end.
Harks was leading it for Vermees.
Yeah.
Looked like a little confusion there for the moment, but Trinidad and Tobago will come away with it.
Well, Vermees slow to put pressure on there. U.S. forwards have got to really attack these defenders. Oh, there's a bad call. I think the player just simply went down.
So did I.
A bad decision goes against Ramos, but the U.S. have got to put pressure on the back four of this Trinidad-Tobago team because they tend to play it around excessively. And as you said, in the early parts of the game, they can be a little bit casual, and they can be punished if the U.S. is alert.
Jamerson gave it up on the left to Dexter Francis. And out of play it goes once more.
This is what I mean. You see there, 4 players playing virtually flat across the back for Trinidad and Tobago. 2 U.S. players putting pressure on them, and they knock it out of play.
It went into Vermees, and then it was cleared out, but we had a whistle upfield, and they're going to bring the ball up, apparently on a foul call against Trinidad and Tobago.
Speaking of whistles, JP, we hear from the retail stores in Port of Spain that every whistle has been cleared out of the shops. So we hope that somebody in the crowd doesn't do something untoward at an inappropriate moment with a whistle.
Ramos ready on the restart. Sending it long. Far post. Doyle went up into the air for it against two Trinidad defenders. They've got to really respect John Doyle's ability as well as Steve Tritchew's in the air. And it's double trouble there in terms of the USA because those guys can get high in a hurry. Johnny Harks on the throw-in to Caligiuri. Hasn't played since the Guatemala game in Connecticut. USA trying to work it in. Murray headed out by Brian Williams. A right-footed shot blocked. Loose ball in the penalty area. And now cleared out. There's that pressure you were talking about. Ramos was in. And now Brian Williams up the sideline. Bliss on his man. Caligiuri couldn't come up with it. Latipi, number 10, could. And Caligiuri, I think, with a good foul there. Left side now. Trinidad and Tobago will work it on the far sideline. A very quick team, and they like to move the ball around. A lot of people felt that they would only keep it on the ground, but they showed they had some good skills in the air as well in Los Angeles in the 1-1 tie. Harks will clear it upfield. Burmese playing now in Holland. Just coming back. He missed the last game because of a case of the chicken pox. Ramos coming down the right side. Lead pass, and it's a good one. Into the right corner. Murray makes his move into the penalty area, and two players going down on that side. Murray was making a dangerous run, but they couldn't find it.
Now Murray's in the penalty area. I think that was Paul Crumpy on the far side.
Right, no, but it was Murray running in the box.
Oh yes, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Okay. Crumpy, I think, committed the obvious foul there that the referee had to blow up.
Murray's a player who admits that he did not have a good game the last couple of weeks in St. Louis, but he has been the man who their hopes have really ridden on in terms of scoring the big goals, especially with Perez out of the lineup. Michael Maurice up the left wing sideline. About 11 minutes into this game, and it is a scoreless tie between Trinidad and Tobago and the U.S. national team, or the national teams of both countries. Right side of the field. John Harks after it, flicking it into the penalty area, and it's picked up easily by Maurice. Up the middle for Jamerson. Far side, Tritchew fell down, gets back up, and Trinidad and Tobago will advance. Just getting there on the tackle, but it was a loose ball played right back into the area. Quick shot deflected by John Doyle, and that was helter-skelter for the USA in their own backyard. It's scoreless here in Trinidad and Tobago.
It's fueled the victories of Super Bowl champions.
Tackles on that far side of the field almost spelled disaster for the U.S. national team.
Well, the second time, nobody seemed to know where the ball was.
For either side. Lifted into the area and headed out now by Doyle. But Trinidad and Tobago will take it back. Latipi, very skillful player. Now it's broken up. Coming all the way back near midfield. But the referee had blown a whistle.
Yeah, the referee's calling a very tight game here, JP, at this point. Absolutely any contact that might look a little incidental is being whistled up very fast. And he's determined that this will not be a game that will be settled in any physical way by fouls and unnecessary cards and so forth.
We're here at the National Stadium in Port of Spain, Trinidad. John Paul de la Camera with Seamus Mallon. It's scoreless right now. Played into the area. Miola got it. Tony Miola comes up with the ball.
Well, there you see one of the problems for the U.S. defensively, and Tritchew being outpaced by the attacker for Trinidad and Tobago down that far side. And that's something that they've been trying to do for the first 5 minutes in their attack. But here comes the U.S. Ramos.
Ramos on the right side tried to play it into the area. He was tripped up. And they've whistled it down for the foul.
Well, that player on the far side who's dangerous is number 11, Lewis. Leonson Lewis, who was so fast. You see him there making the run, getting away from Tritchew, and then getting a very good cross in.
Right side, Ramos will put it in, and a collision at the goalpost. We're looking at a replay there. We're back live. That was the last dangerous chance that Trinidad and Tobago had, but coming back the other way, Ramos had a chance there, but Maurice did catch it at the goalpost. Lead pass the other way, off a deflection, and it will head out of play. They'll give the ball to the USA. USA with 5 goals in 7 games. People have criticized the offense. Costa Rica, who has already qualified, have 10 goals, and Trinidad and Tobago only 2 goals more than the U.S. with 7. Conversely, it's been the USA's defense that has gotten them this far, giving up only 3 goals. Meola has not given up any in his last 3 starts. Caligiuri's pass broken up. Was intended for Murray. Taken back by Harks. Knocked away. Some careless passing here by the USA. They try to spring a winger, but Meola's there again.
Well, and they've yet to get the ball over to Brian Bliss that I can remember. It's all right side for the U.S. so far.
Ramos to Vermees. Coming back to help out is Dexter Francis. Vermees played him tight, but Trinidad and Tobago will end up with it. The USA has never lost to Trinidad and Tobago, winning 6 games and tying 1. That last tie, a lot of people said it'll possibly cost the U.S. in terms of that point. I think they may have negated that, Seamus, by getting a point in Guatemala and getting that 2 points in Honduras. But what I think it did was it gave Trinidad and Tobago and their coach, Gally Cummings, an awful lot of confidence. You remember that was their very first game, and they came back. That was a loss until, what, the 88th minute?
That's right. And, of course, the big difference there would be that the U.S. would now have 10 points and Trinidad 8. So that would be a 2-point spread, giving the U.S. a comfortable position. But as I said, all those what-ifs at this stage are immaterial. The real question is, can the U.S. rise to the occasion here and win under very, very tough circumstances on the road against a team that has got all kinds of enthusiasm and high hopes.
Ball cleared away.
Italy.
And now broken up by Caligiuri to Brian Bliss on that left sideline. Nice job to keep it in play. Finding John Harks. Trying to cut it through. Latipi with the block. Harks got it. Won the ball. Left side Murray. Lost it off the trap. Now Ramos. Murray is down. And the referee may think that he's trying to milk it a little bit. He wants play to continue. I didn't see him call the advantage. Here's Bliss on the left as Murray is slow to get up, but he's okay now, or at least back up. Bliss with a dangerous cross. Tritchu running after it. Right side of the field for Tritchu, trying to at least get a throw in, and he does. Good hustle. But it was all set up by Harks. Broken up on that sideline. Knocked out by Elliot Allen, and the USA will have a throw in here.
Bruce Murray still limping. He's got to be a bit disappointed with the quality of his first touch on that good pass he got, because it's a little reminiscent of the El Salvador fiasco that he had, which he admits himself, as you pointed out, was really a horrendous game for him.
Into the 15th minute of play in this scoreless tie. On the throw, it looked like it may have gotten away. USA trying to get possession back. Caligiuri trying to reverse it. Now Bliss with a reverse header on the left side. John Harks trying to keep it in and then go with it, but the U.S. will get it back. Yeah. Bliss.
Good steal by Murray.
To Caligiuri. Now it's Murray. Across to Harks at the top of the arc. Broken up. Brian Williams. Now Tritchu with a strong header back for Bliss. Blocked by Trinidad and Tobago. This is Latipi. And a threat here. 3-on-3. Now 4-on-4. Latipi. Good run from behind by Doyle to slow him down. Elliot Allen, though, on the far side. And he's broken up by Tritchu. So the USA recovering well after they had the offense going on one side of the field. They retracted well when it looked like Trinidad and Tobago could have a numerical advantage.
Well, Latipi's the player they got to worry about out of midfield, JP. He's young, but extremely talented. And you saw his pace, speed coming out of midfield there, but he's the midfield general for them. And he's got to be neutralized by the U.S. midfield. I think a lot of people feel the key to the game is in midfield. And the Trinidad really have some awfully good players in there, none better than Latipi.
Coming back on the right side, it's flicked back the other way to Meola by Brian Bliss. If the U.S. does win this game and goes on to Italy, you could probably make a good bet that Tony Meola would be the youngest goalkeeper of all of the goalkeepers in Italy. Just 20 years old. I can remember when Dino Zoff won it, and he was, what, 40 at the time?
Yes, that's right.
You'll see some older goalkeepers in World Cup play. Shilton being another. Pat Jennings was playing back in '86.
Ooh, bad mistake there by Bliss. We're trying to force two against two when it wasn't really on.
U.S. can make mistakes, and they will today. What they've got to make sure is that the mistakes don't cost them a goal. Most people give them an edge here of 1-0 if they are to win. Because they've not shown the ability to get a couple of goals in a game. That's
the second time Tritchu has lost his footing. This playing surface is really in quite good shape. There were all kinds of stories in the U.S. papers which were quite misleading about the fact that this is going to be a heavy field and so forth. Well, the rain stopped about 3 days ago, And it's perfect weather now, and it's really not that hard a ground either. It's quite playable, and more than playable. It's in really excellent shape. But I'm a little surprised to see Trichu losing his footing, so maybe it's just a bit soft on that far side.
U.S. team did work out a bit yesterday. From all observers who have talked to us, they have done a great job in terms of getting together as a team. Instead of training or living in a hotel in Miami like they usually do, they moved training camp to Cocoa Beach, Florida, where it was more of a dormitory setting. And the players have rallied. They had a meeting, players only, got together, and all observers say, and I'm talking players, management, etc., that this is the most unified this team has been in all of World Cup qualifying play, and they need that unity if they're to succeed today against these odds here in Trinidad.
Well, once again, a kind of a 50-50 foul by Elliot Allen, the number 12 player for Trinidad and Tobago. The referee again being very quick to put a stop to it. Oh, it's an unfortunate ball out of the back. It is a bit windy down there. Inconsistently so. The flags on the sidelines don't look to be blowing that hard, but it's gusting a bit.
So far, the crowd has not at all been a factor. They were dancing and singing, what, 3.5 hours before the game? When we arrived 3.5 hours before kickoff, folks, the stadium was completely full. They were not letting other people in. 3.5 hours before it, and there were some people here as early as 6.5 hours before kickoff when they opened the gates. Harks now for the U.S. in a 0-0 tie. Knocked away. On the left wing side, this is Leonson Lewis. Nice job to win that ball back. Trinidad and Tobago now controlling it. 17 is Jamerson.
Paul Caligiuri seems to be the one who's looking out for Ladaby. He's playing a kind of a withdrawn midfield position and looking out for Ladaby quite closely. There's Doyle going high in the air once, twice, and wins it nicely.
Brian Bliss. And it went out of play as Murray and Williams were after it on this near sideline. It is still a scoreless tie. We are less than 25 minutes into the first half of play. They'll play 90 minutes. If it's tied, Trinidad goes on to the World Cup in 1990 in Italy. No overtimes, no penalty kicks in this round of qualifying. Jamerson now picking it up, left wing side, broken up by Trichu. Steve Trichu has scored some important goals now for the U.S. in these international games. Had a great one against Trinidad and Tobago. A volley kick off the chest trap that, along with Bruce Murray's back in against Guatemala in Connecticut, have to be the goals as far as the U.S. is concerned.
There you saw, by the way, I don't know if you could see Caligiuri shouting. There's Caligiuri in the ball, shouting to Murray to come back to him so he could play to him. Murray had been going and trying to make a long run, but would have been offside.
Caligiuri and Jamerson getting together. Widdishman will take it. Windishman leading it. Murray on the run. The goalkeeper is out. Maurice couldn't use his hands where he was. Did well to give the USA a throw-in instead of a shot on goal. Play to the right side now to Ramos as Maurice gets back into position. USA with Crumpy on the cross. Headed out by Francis. And now it's Ladaby. Caligiuri on him. Parks joined him as well.
Yeah, good idea by Caligiuri there, slowing Ladaby down. Ladaby wanted to hit the long early ball, couldn't do it, then tried the late one, and Caligiuri checked it nicely.
Captain of the team was number 2, Clayton Morris. Right side of the field. This is the youngster, York, 17 years old. What an important game for him, but he's going to have a lot more of these games before he's all through. And as we mentioned, he's playing for Aston Villa. Besides this great crowd here today, 3 20 by 30-foot screens were imported from Detroit so that other fans could pay and watch their team in action. People were upset because this game sold out in a matter of hours. On the left side of the field, a long shot, and that's well wide of Tony Meola. Didn't even have to flinch on that one. Out of play it goes. About 26, maybe 27 minutes into the start of the first half of play. And right now, it is a scoreless tie between the USA and Trinidad and Tobago. Number 6, Marvin Foston, one of their key players. This is a good team, an underrated team. When a lot of people thought about who would be here in the end, you didn't hear that Trinidad name. You heard Guatemala, actually, and they were very disappointing. But Bob Gantzer said at the beginning of the year, and he's reminded people of it, he did say it. He said that it may go down. He expected it to go down to when they roll the last ball out in Trinidad. And truer words, as it turns out, were never spoken. Player just falling down there. No USA player near him.
That was Jones. Yep.
To even look like there was a foul. Harks. 2 players on him now. It's Clayton Morris.
Harks hoping to read something from Vermees there a little bit earlier, but Peter ran a little bit late. Oh, nice move out of midfield.
Elliot Allen coming through. Windishman at the back. Played in and offside, says the linesman.
Well, the U.S. a little bit lucky there because of the hesitation from the Trinidad players. We're able to sort of spring the offside trap as number 11, who is so fast, Lewis, ran into the offside trap in the end. But it's primarily not because of his fault, but because the midfield player held up releasing the ball.
This is Windishman, tied with Boris Bandoff for appearances, 3rd place among all USA players, and he'll move past Bandoff now. It is still scoreless here in Port of Spain, Trinidad.
The minute the lights go out, you fall asleep.
It's time to change your bulb.
Welcome back, everyone, to Port of Spain, Trinidad, here at National Stadium. John Paul Della Camera with Seamus Mallon. Most important 90 minutes of play for the U.S. national team. They're most important in their history, and there's far less than 90 to go now. We're almost 30 minutes in. And they'll need at least 1 goal to do it here today. They've not scored a goal in 208 minutes entering this game. Left side, Vermees. Playing for FC Volendam in Holland. On the cross. Good move by Francis to clear it out.
Tremendous move by Vermees, though. Great little piece of faking on the with the left side, and then a very fine quality cross because it was a low driving ball that puts defenders in a lot of trouble.
Harks on a Ramos flick. Left there. And now Trinidad can't get to it. Bliss with a header. Taken away by Trinidad and Tobago. They're in the red and black uniforms. USA in white and blue. Played up the right side, and Windishman will come back for that.
Well, Plataby's fast, but he's not that fast. It'll be a goal kick.
Tony Miola will be putting it in play. Tony recently honored by being named the Herman Trophy winner this year. First time a goalkeeper has won that award. That was announced earlier this week. John Doyle, number 3, up for Caligiuri, who had been playing overseas in Germany for the past few years. Broken up.
That's very poor play. Oh, another bad mistake by Crumpy.
Coming back the other way. Into the area. Lewis tried to cross it. Where did he go? Went right over the advertising. But that looked very dangerous. Well, the USA has made maybe 3 mistakes that could have been disastrous, but they've not gotten burnt on them, so that's a good sign for them.
Well, they seem to be having some trouble on that far side with some of the first touches, JP. Maybe the ground is a lot harder over there than we thought, because the ball is coming off the ground a bit hard, and it seems to be rebounding off their shins a bit, so it might be that it is a little tougher to control than we thought. Here comes Harks. Good ball. Oh, sorry. Looked good from here, but in the end, not so.
Francis played it upfield. 17 is Jamerson. They'll work it to the wings to Williams, their most experienced player, better than 100 international appearances. Yeah. Lead pass on the right. 14, Filbert Jones, as he tried to play it across. Windishman right there. Good positioning by the sweeper.
Well, Williams is their most experienced defender, it's true, but I think he's vulnerable. You saw Vermees get around him nicely a few minutes ago. There are some people down here in Trinidad and Tobago who think that he's a sentimental rather than an intelligent choice, frankly. There's some disagreement about his being in the team even. But he's very much, I mean, that's from the experts. The fans very much like him. But I think that he is vulnerable to the one-on-one situation.
USA coming through. Ramos with a play out on the right side. Murray will try to cross it. And he was looking for Vermees. Almost got it there. Good play on the right side of the field from Murray. Almost matching Vermees' play from the left moments ago. Caligiuri in to get it. USA with Harks looking for Bliss, and it's a stray.
Again, Paul Crumpy's last touch. Paul looks a little rusty to me. I know he's had a great week in training, JP, but just goes to show the difference between training and World Cup play, because Paul, his passing has been a little bit off. He's putting himself into the action, which is really important to get into the flow of things, but so far he hasn't been a force except for one good run early.
Filbert Jones and John Doyle played across, and Miola is right there. Crumpy, by the way, at least 2 full months ahead of schedule. Most people didn't even think he could train, let alone play, until January. He showed us yesterday there's still a screw embedded, a surgical screw embedded in his right foot. You can actually see the screw, and if he had it taken out right now, he'd miss the next month and a half. So he's going to wait, play this game, hope it's the game of his life, and then when he has the chance, go back in for that surgery, and then take a month and a half off to recuperate. And he'll know one way or another tomorrow just when he'll need that surgery.
There was a pass by Caligiuri which looked like it was, first of all, mishit, and then sort of blown around a little bit. And if you look over the lines on that far side, his flag is really blowing quite strongly in the wind. So there's sort of gusty winds on that left side that don't seem to be parallel on this right side at all. It's really kind of a peculiar wind condition at the moment.
Jamerson's pass finds its way to Allen. Left side of the field, Trinidad and Tobago trying to work it through. Blocked by Trinidad, but Trinidad and Tobago keep coming. Windishman with a block there, which may have saved something. That was headed for a through ball, or so it appeared. Coming back is York. Deeks all over the place. Windishman now forces him out, but a pass is well played. Lanape, a right footer, high and wide of Tony Meola. They forced the player to the outside, Windishman did, but a nice move to find Lanape.
Yeah, York did very, very well on that. He saw that he drew 2 defenders, so instead of trying to grandstand it and take them both on, he did the smart thing, which is to turn away and quickly release the ball, because if you draw on 2 players, you've got to be creating a situation for your teammates somewhere.
Brian Williams on the right, blocked out of play by Vermees. We should be about maybe 32 minutes into this game. They just have a regular clock that we're looking at, and this game did not start exactly, at least not according to the stadium clock, at 3:30 local time, maybe a couple minutes later. Now it's Trinidad and Tobago in the scoreless tie. Right side, Gilbert Jones, bumped by Doyle, but not enough. And there are about 30,000 plus fans that wanted a penalty kick.
Doyle doing very well there against a very quick and clever and somewhat elusive player. It's one of the concerns I've had about Doyle playing in the back there, frankly, but he's done a good job so far. But once again, Trichu losing his footing. This is now the 4th time it's almost cost the U.S.
Ramos to Vermees. Outside of the area. Now lifted in. A chance for the USA, but Bliss and Harks kind of ran into each other. Not in a collision, but in each other's way. Kick straight back by Caligiuri. Windishman looking for Bliss. Chested down by York. The 17-year-old more than holding his own in this game. Left side of the field. And Williams upended John Hart. USA, though, will have the ball. But that brought the crowd up. Tell you what, it seemed like there was a mandatory sign that said you must wear red or you wouldn't be allowed to enter the stadium, because that's all you see here. It's just a sea of red. Ramos putting it in to Caligiuri. Beats the first man. A left-footed shot. Paul Caligiuri has scored a goal. The USA lead 1-0.
An amazing goal by Caligiuri, who made a great move to get by one player and then hit this rocket. Look at this good move, and then the left foot, just a super volley into that far corner, and a stunning goal. This crowd absolutely cannot believe it. A superb Paul Caligiuri volley, completely surprising Maurice in goal, and all of a sudden the U.S. has jumped out to an unexpected 1-0 lead.
That might be the shot heard around the world. Paul Caligiuri, who has not played, he had a stress fracture, he's not played since the Guatemala game in Connecticut, has scored a goal. Well timed off the volley, but the key was beating that very first player with that nice soft touch.
Well, he did extremely well. He saw the space behind that man, knew that if he could beat him, he was going to have a little room to shoot. Did exactly the right thing. And boy, putting Paul Caligiuri in the center of midfield has certainly paid off early for the U.S.
Talk about quieting a crowd down. Left side of the field, now it's Trinidad. Well, that's the goal that the USA wanted. And in a news conference yesterday, they asked Bob Gansler what he would do if the USA took the lead. And he said, we can't play defensive, we can't pack it in. We're still going to have to create some things because they've not been able to really hold a lead. And hopefully they can do that here. Remember what you've always said, you're most susceptible to giving up a goal right after you've scored one.
That's right. The emotions are sky high. The other team is determined to get their score level and get their crowd back into this game.
I'll tell you, that's a great goal by Caligiuri, and I see Michael Maurice continuing to shade his eyes. That may have helped Caligiuri just for a slight instant. He's looking into a tough sun, and Caligiuri really let that one go and lifted it high. Ramos. I'm wondering about the surprise factor as well, if Maurice was expecting Paul to take that shot. But a very big goal for Paul Caligiuri, who in 1986 was really the most talked about player in terms of the U.S. national team. Tony Meola. Now on the left side to Doyle.
Yeah, and look at that ball bouncing. That ground is really quite a bit harder than we had perhaps recognized. There's a good check from behind by Williams. I got to hand it to Williams. He's played a little better than I expected, although he does draw a foul there. I think he was yellow carded in the first game in Southern California, if I remember, but I had to sit out. I know I had to sit out one game with 2 yellow cards. There's Vanoli, I think. Was that Vanoli? With the American flag. Vanoli, probably the super patriot of the team, certainly feels strongest about representing his country.
Murray. And now broken up on the left side by Trinidad and Tobago. The USA has gotten the early lead, a lead that they wanted. They didn't want to have to come back from behind, trailing 1-0. Nor do they want to get to the latter stages, needing a goal if it was 0-0. But this is a tough lead to play with. The USA has proven that in the past. We'll see what they do here. Lanape had a lot of room on the right side. Now Doyle closes him down. Nice defensive play. John Doyle wins it cleanly. Gets possession for the U.S. to Brian Bliss. And a giveaway there to Morris.
Yeah, bad giveaway by Brian. He saw that Vermees was going to make the angle run, and then Vermees now motioning to him that he wanted it over the top because of all the space behind him. It's a bad ball by Trinidad and Tobago. They look very uneven at the moment.
That goal seems to have taken something out of them as well. And the USA coming forward with Brian Bliss. Number 8 for the USA, played at Southern Connecticut State. Had a great college career, like most of these U.S. players did. Now Williams will break it up, and right back to Michael Maurice it goes. We're almost 40 minutes, it looks like, into this first half of play.
That time, as you mentioned, being a little uncertain here because of the clock and the unofficial
Yeah, would like to get the official
nature.
score if we can on that goal, but it's obviously Caligiuri's. May in fact be unassisted, but we'll check it out and get the official time as well.
Well, he got a nice pass on the right side. I don't know if it was Bliss who gave it to him, but somebody gave him a nice pass that he did very well with, obviously.
All I remember is the shot on the right side. USA trying to create something there on the wing, and the cross, it was blocked. It should be a corner.
Corner kick.
Corner kick coming up. USA leads 1-0 here in Trinidad.
I hate to exercise, but the abdominizer makes it great. It only takes a couple minutes and I'm done.
I'm an aerobic instructor. At first I was skeptical, but it really is a better way to work the abdominals.
Everybody's talking about the Abdominizer, the amazing new exerciser that lets you rock your way to a firmer stomach in just minutes a day.
Now, the Abdominizer, by creating an automatic pelvic tilt, actually reduces the use of the hip flexors and puts greater demand on your abdominals.
My tailbone didn't hurt, and I felt results instantly.
Get a firmer stomach in just minutes a day. It's doctor-developed to firm your stomach faster, tighten and tone upper and lower abdominals plus lateral obliques.
Pick up the phone like I did and order the Abdominizer.
To order your Abdominizer, call 1-800-535-1700. That's 1-800-535.
Kick and tap. Ramos going over to take it. A 1-0 USA lead. Still in the first half of play. There's Ramos ready to take it. USA needs to win this game here in Port of Spain, Trinidad, to advance to the World Cup. Right now they have a 1-0 lead here in the first half. Ramos all set. Putting it in play. One deflection and then headed straight up and over by Bruce Murray. Well, conversely, you know, when we were talking earlier, Seamus, about what the score might be, the prevailing thought might have been 1-0 U.S. On the other hand, if it gets to a certain point where Trinidad is down and they have to push forward, that's where the USA could succeed too, counterattack-wise. I can't recall the last time, though, they've had a 2-0 lead, except for in perhaps a Marlboro Cup game that was played during the summer, but certainly not in these kinds of qualifying games because the scores have been so low.
And goals being very, very hard to come by indeed. That's the 6th goal in the tournament in 8 games for the U.S. But nobody has run away with a goal-scoring either. You know, I think, what is it, 7 goals for Trinidad and Tobago, and they're
10 for Costa Rica.
10 for Costa Rica, so it's, they're hard to come by, and the U.S. certainly have had their chances, as we're tired of saying, and they're tired of hearing.
Yeah, I'm sure they're tired of hearing. Right side of the field. Towards the penalty area, and Bliss will head it out. There'll be a throw-in coming up here for Trinidad and Tobago. Let's hope that Caligiuri goal, though, is going to be the goal that everyone will remember of all the goals that have been scored in World Cup qualifying. A lot of soccer, though, still to come here in Trinidad. Brian Williams on the throw-in. York on the turn, blocked. York will get another try at it, but Murray will break it up, clears it upfield. Burmese was close to it, but not close enough. Shot back in. Tony Miola cut it off. It looked like it was wide, though, of goal.
Yeah. Good move by Miola, though. You know, get the ball in his hands. He likes to get the ball in his hands rather than just letting it go by. And he has that usual comfortable style that he has. Now, look at how that ball is held up by the wind. That wind really is much stronger than we had said before the game.
Well, Miola, as you were saying, likes to catch it, doesn't like to punch it out as much as others do. Here's Bliss. Tackled. Brian Williams, good job.
Yeah, well, he saw that Bliss had lost a little bit of control of it, and now there's that good release into midfield.
Look at all that space coming back the other way. The Allen pass was blocked out of play. Let's see where they're going to go with it.
Leon St. Louis was the one who knocked it out. Leon St. Louis, rather.
Throw-in coming up from Steve Tritsu. No, we're talking about creating space, and speaking of that, Sonny Carter, an astronaut who is going up into space later on this week, is going to bring a soccer ball up there. He's a former soccer player and recorded an inspirational speech on cassette, apparently, for the USA team. And as of this morning when we headed out here, they were planning to play it for the players, and we're assuming that they did do that. In fact, we know Sonny is watching. Oddly enough, he was supposed to go up in space today, but they postponed that till later on in the week.
There's Murray over there pulling a little bit of gamesmanship by taking the ball and hiding it behind his back and so forth. That's not a good idea. They don't want to do that in this situation. Latterby unhappy with his lack of control there.
Seamus, we talked about it being a most important, or the most important 90 minutes for the U.S. national team. In just probably a couple of minutes, we'll be able to say the most important 45 because we're nearing the end of the first half of play. USA with a 1-0 lead on a Paul Caligiuri goal. We'll give you all of the official stuff when we get it. Burmese shielding the ball against Williams and company. But the USA will end up with a throw in here.
Well, Peter Burmese doing very well there. That's what you like to see him doing. That is to shield the defender, hold the ball away from the defender, and then try to turn on him.
John Harkes will put it in play. Played for Albany this year in the American Soccer League. A lot of players played in either the ASL or the WSL, but with those seasons concluding, pretty much on this team, it's been Miola, who's been the only player with college experience or any outdoor experience, as well as the 2 players, Perez and Burmese, that have played overseas. But for all of the other players, they've not been able to get in the outdoor games that they had during the course of the regular seasons of both the ASL and the Western Soccer League.
Oh,
bad decision there on the pass from Tritsu, but coming back to help out was Doyle. Miola is there anyway.
You know, very often when you lay off a quick ball like that for the return, you will put the wall player, the player who's supposed to touch it, under great pressure because he doesn't see who's coming from behind him, and that's what almost cost the U.S. possession in midfield there.
Out of play it goes. I thought it was off of Williams, but they're going to give it to Trinidad and Tobago.
Williams is coming up a lot more now. Maybe he's going to try to add something to the midfield when the U.S. has only 2 strikers up front. That releases him to go forward.
Jamerson to Williams. Back to Clayton Morris. Faking on Murray. Up the right side is where Trinidad and Tobago will come. 16 is York. Back to Williams. 1-0 USA leading it in a must-win game. Latterby on the left foot. It's blocked. Looked like Windishman got a block in there, and now it just eluded John Harks. Recovers on it, but now a long shot from way out. Goes up and by Tony Meola out of play, but it looked like a dangerous chance there for Trinidad.
As they say in Trinidad, that ball is behind God's back. That's an expression to mean that it is nowhere to be found, way off target. But the U.S., you know, putting themselves under pressure. A bad back header there by Murray, putting them under pressure. They got to be a little careful about their passing. As I say, there goes Doyle giving it away. Coach has got to be a little frenzied with this over there in the sideline with this amount of possession, especially when you're nursing a one-goal lead. And
time running out as well here during the first half. USA must maintain the composure here and go into the dressing room at the half with a 1-0 lead. And that's something that they were really hoping for. As it gets to the latter stages, they were hoping that they wouldn't have to look for the goal and that kind of pressure. But it's a different kind of pressure because they've got a 1-0 lead. And it would be very frustrating for them to lose that and then know that they're going to have to get another goal to win it. Number 4 is Dexter Francis. Time running out here in the first half of play. I would have to think it's in the final minute or so, maybe even seconds. There were no injury, or there should have been no injury time in this first half of play. Allen is after it, kicked up by Harks to Ramos. Lead pass, right wing side of the field. It's going to go too far for anyone. And Trinidad and Tobago will have a goal kick with Michael Maurice. Only goal of the game was by Paul Caligiuri. Made one move to beat a defender, hit it on the volley. A rising shot, and Maurice was late on it. And the USA scored to make it 1-0, and that's been it so far. That's all that they need, but there's still another 45+ minutes to go. Trinidad and Tobago will have a throw in here from the far side of the field. A block from Trichu. Ball stays in play. The assist they're giving to Ramos in the 31st minute. That goal by Caligiuri. And now it's Murray. This is Paul Caligiuri's 24th game with the national team. Bliss lost it to Latipi. Latipi was there with York. Russell Latipi plays it across. Blocked by John Harks. Picked back up by Dexter Francis. And now given up. Lewis plays it back from Jamerson. Right side to Clayton Morris over midfield. Trinidad and Tobago playing it right side now to Williams. 1-0, USA leading it. First half. I hope that clock is not malfunctioning because it's gone beyond 47 minutes now.
I don't think they started this game on time.
They did not, no. At least a couple of minutes, but no more. Here's a right-footed shot from way out of Meola. Makes an easy save on it. He's pushing everybody forward. He knows time is running out. And Meola says, push the player back a little bit, ref. Tony Meola right foots it long. Trying to run under it is Vermees, but Morris.
Wow, wonderful deft touch indeed. A beautiful play. That ball being wind-blown and coming over the shoulder, and he manages to take it down on the first touch. Superb skill there by Morris.
I knew I used the right word when you repeated it. It's not very often that you repeat some of my words, so deft must have been a magical word for me. Here's Michael Maurice sending it long, and that's the longest one he's advanced. Meola got it, and maybe a foot in the stomach as well. Tony Meola in a bit of a collision there. I'm guessing that it was the foot of the player who was streaking forward that may have caught him in the midsection.
Yeah, it was. It was Leonson Lewis.
Well, I'll tell you, he's proven to be indestructible. We'll watch it here again, see if we can get a closer look.
Well, here he comes out for it. And
oh, yeah.
Not much question about that.
Meola will send it long. Here's a guy that's played football, basketball, baseball in the most important game of his life in any sport. Allen coming back. Going up against Ramos. All they've got here is a stadium clock, which is really a regular face watch, or watch from a wristwatch that maybe that you'd be wearing, and we're looking at it, and it shows that this game has gone about 5 minutes longer. And now the referee says that's it for the first half. But the USA clearly is going to be very happy with their effort, all in all, when you consider that they've got what they wanted, which was the lead after 45 minutes. USA, on a Paul Caligiuri goal, lead it 1-0 here at the end of the first half of play.
Honey, this is not a 4-lane highway.
The camera with Seamus Mallon, and a 1-0 USA lead, Seamus, on a Paul Caligiuri goal that we're going to take another look at. And so far, everyone is hoping that this is the goal that will stand up for the USA.
Well, Paul Caligiuri was placed into midfield at the beginning of this game. It was, I think, all to watch Latterby, but also to do some leading from midfield. And with Perez a question mark, he did just that. First of all, the goal comes because of, you see Tab Ramos at the bottom of your screen. He sets it up nicely, floats it in, and he sees some space. Caligiuri goes into the space, beats his man nicely, and then hits his left-footed rocket that Maurice seemed to be partially blinded by the sun on, but it caught that bottom left-hand corner, and that gave the U.S. a 1-0 lead, and certainly justified Coach Gansler's decision to take John Stolmeyer out of the starting lineup and replace him with perhaps the more experienced Paul Caligiuri for a match of this more experience perhaps for a match of this kind, but also with the kind of style of play that might be more suitable for what the U.S. needed in midfield.
Well, Caligiuri has the all-important first goal, the one that the U.S. needs. They lead it by the score of 1-0 here at National Stadium in Trinidad. '31st minute, Vermees. Well, that's one way to take the pressure away. He's hurting, though. I was going to say one way to take a lot of the pressure away with that long ball and then the control, and Vermees had something to say to the linesman there. We saw Tony Meola come out, Seamus, and he had a hat. He was showing it to the referee. He didn't wear it. Now he's putting it on, so he must have asked for permission or told him what he was going to do. That sun is very strong. That's where Maurice was playing when Caligiuri shot beat him from about maybe, as I recall, 25, 26 yards away. Throw in by Crumpy. No substitutes for the USA, nor for Trinidad, at least not on a first look. Bliss run over by Williams, and Brian Bliss won the ball back. On the cross, one miss there as Vermees tried to go up strong, and then it's headed, and Williams looks like he's going to give away a corner. But a good effort by Bliss, just when it looked like Trinidad was going to come back down that right flank. Bliss took it away.
And a good run through the middle also by Murray there. He was in a great position to get a header in on goal, but the defender did awfully well to clear the lines for Trinidad and Tobago. So second half beginning a little bit the way the first half ended, that is with some giveaways and mistakes. Technically not a very good game for coaches, but lots of mistakes.
Ball played in on the bender, off one flick, and just wide for the USA as Vermees was in there, Murray was in there, Doyle came up for the back, Tritchu came up. They were going for it.
Yeah, that looked like a very good corner kick indeed for the U.S. A good near post run, a nice flick on. Doyle just couldn't get to it at the far post, but as I said, one of the things the U.S. will have to do is to try to play. Ooh, he's a bad goal kick. Try to play a more perfect game, if you will. And it's a good
great
ball
ball.
to Murray.
Vermees with that great ball to Murray. Plays it across. Missing a beat. There's a quick Ramos shot, and it was blocked. Boy, a two-goal lead would do wonders for the USA, confidence-wise, and really take this crowd out of the game. Right now, it's a USA lead of 1-0. We talked before about the most important 90 minutes of soccer in USA history. How about the next 45, and even less now, as we're a couple minutes into the second half of play. 42 minutes and counting down. USA leading it 1-0. The outside wing. Vermees blocked. Trying to settle it down. It comes all the way back out. Trinidad will take it. Trinidad and Tobago. Down the left side comes Lewis. Number 11. Leonson Lewis with speed. Tritchu trying to close from behind. Windishman in front. Lewis tried to cross it. It's blocked, and there's Meola wearing that hat to block against the sun.
Well, he can also punt this ball really far or drop kick it because of that supporting wind. But again, Tritchu beaten badly out of midfield by the pace of Leonson Lewis. And only Windishman doing a good job of sweeping to save the day. Here's a long ball, a good one for Murray.
Maurice is coming out, and he made a nice play with it. Okay, when you come back the other way, you might get to see this at home. Tremendous shadows on the left wing side of the field, so if Meola's watching a shot from that side, he's seeing the ball in shade, but then as it goes up, it's where it catches the sunlight. Played all the way across. Good ball for Trinidad and Tobago. 6 is Boston. He's not said his name too many times today. Broken up. Taken back, though, by Trinidad and Tobago. Leonson Lewis against Tritchu. Backheel pass. Tritchu back for Lewis on one side of him. Broken up, but Miola saw it all the way. He had already started to make his run when he anticipated that that might have happened.
Well, Tritchu getting caught by looking over his right shoulder and not realizing how fast Lewis was coming on him from the other side, and he slowed down his own pace and almost got victimized. Good run by Williams.
Yeah, and the advantage call by the referee. A good call played into the area. Doyle up. Taken though by Lewis. On his left foot, on the wing. Tried to play it across. Tritchu, I thought, got a piece, and Miola did well so that that was not a corner kick. Tony Miola, as big as this country is, you have 3 players that played soccer in that Kearney, New Jersey area. That's an amazing stat. Miola, Ramos, and Harks. And I think part of the Scots Club that normally watches the game on their screen in New Jersey is here watching this one.
Another long ball down the middle, hopefully to put pressure on the defense of Trinidad, but ironically, all it does is give them some possession. And the U.S. want to cut down on that as much as possible, so they got some tough choices to make when the ball's in the goalkeeper's hand.
About 39.5 minutes remaining in the game. USA leading it by the score of 1-0. The lives of these players change tomorrow for both teams, for the winners as well as the losers. A lot of money at stake, especially for the USA, if they qualify because of potential sponsors to climb aboard, and everything is gearing up for 1994 when the USA is the host country. Played now into the area. And cutting it off is John Doyle with a nice defensive job against Filbert Jones. Wouldn't let Jones turn on him. Up to Vermees, now knocked down to Ramos. Vermees, good turn. Murray almost got behind the defense. Morris with a good recovery from the back. Had that ball bounced Murray's way, he would have been able to run onto that ball, and that might have made a difference. Murray a little bit slow to get up. He's been bothered by some back problems, but right there it looked like he may have gotten kicked to the back of the ankle.
Yeah, and Eric Eichmann would be the obvious substitute there should Murray be unable to continue. Perez also on the bench, Banks, Dolmeyer, and of course the backup goalkeeper, Vanoli.
Desmond Armstrong, Ted Eck, and Jim Gabar are not dressed, but they are here today, rooting on their teammates. Vermees with it. Gabar, they tell us, is one of the players most responsible for the team meetings that really seem to get things going this year, or this week, for the U.S. national team. They held a players-only meeting. We were told that Guevara and Perez did a lot of the talking, stressing the importance of it, the team unity. They did a lot of things together this week at Cocoa Beach, and it seems to have been paying off thus far.
Well, Harry, what you saw then, by the way, was Ramos knocking the ball out of bounds deliberately, hoping that Murray would then get some attention. But as he did so, Murray got up. So Ramos a little unhappy with Murray as a result of all that.
Right side now switch to the left for Foster. Eichmann is warming up on the wing. Far side, Wittishman took a little shoulder hit from a Trinidad and Tobago defender. And Wittishman just echoed that to the official. Gave the elbow gesture.
Steve Tritchu losing that ball a bit there. Steve, again, up against a terrifically difficult opponent. And he's had a hard game, just as he did also when the game was played in Torrance. He had a terrific battle one-on-one.
Well, remember, they started Alibi in that game, and he was good in the air. Tritchu was going in the air the first half, and then they replaced him with Morris, a smaller player, a faster player in the second half, so he had to make an adjustment. Ball played in. Wittishman after it, but it's cleared out instead by Tritchu.
Yeah, good clearance there by Steve.
Dexter Francis with a give. Kerry Jamerson on the double team. Harks, good job to Murray. Nice deep to the middle. Bruce Murray over the midfield line. 3-on-3 on the USA attack. Good ball to John Harks, who will run onto it. Harks on a cross, and the USA will get a corner kick out of this one. They lead it by the score of 1-0. Putting this corner kick into play. But the USA not packing it in, as Bob Gensler had said before. They're leading it here by the score of 1-0 here at the National Stadium in Port of Spain, Trinidad. John Paul Della Camera with Seamus Mallon. A game that the USA must win to go to Italy for the 1990 World Cup. Ramos, far post, and Maurice, looking into a tough sun that time, made the grab.
Well, that was a difficult ball starting out, but again, I think it was held up a little bit by the wind, so he's able to backpedal and get under it. If it had a bit more pace or swerve on it, it might have been very difficult for him.
To midfield, the first pass getting to Latifi, number 10. On the attack for Trinidad, to Leonson Lewis. On the cross, Miola into the sun, but he's right there. Remember, he's played center field and third base on his baseball team. Third base because he's had some hamstring problems, so he knows how to get under a ball and go for it.
Jones is always standing right there in his way, and he has to go around him all the time to his right to be able to get his half volleys knocked away.
Tritcher, a dangerous ball back. Miola came off, so it won it.
Tritcher is having a bit of a nightmare, in my view. He's been outpaced a number of times on his left side, and there he made a horrendous back pass. He's fallen to the ground 4 or 5 times. He's just having a tough time.
34 minutes, almost 35 remaining here in the second half. And so far, the USA has made a few mistakes that have not really cost them all. That one would have been disastrous. Ramos puts it into space. Murray, and that one too far ahead of Bruce Murray. And Maurice was putting it back into play.
Well, unfortunate final touch there by Ramos, because Murray had made the good run, had not gone offside, and that could have amounted to a very threatening attack. But again, the finishing, the good touches and so forth, not here in this match today on either side. It's just a lot of technical breakdowns in the passing and the control. The game means an awful lot, and the nervousness of the players, I think, may be showing.
Well, we talked about it before, all of the sponsors that are waiting to see if the USA qualifies. Then the automatic $1 million+ payoff just for qualifying for the World Cup would keep the program on course, and it's really been an upward climb for the USA soccer team, but you wonder if that can continue were they to lose or tie here in this game. There's that funny word, momentum. You keep that ball rolling. Here's Williams sending it in, and the linesman had the flag up immediately on that far side.
The referee said play on.
Yeah, he
however.
ignored it.
2 Trinidad and Tobago substitutes are warming up on the far side. Here comes Vermees, doing well.
From Delaware, New Jersey, Peter Vermees, the USSF Player of the Year a year ago.
Well, he's giving the U.S. some terrific ball control. He's really doing a good job for them. I think John Stolmeyer is warming up on the far side for the United States, by the way.
Stick with, can't see that far over from here. Stick with Vermees, though. He's really made a nice comeback with this team because
really
he's had a problem. He missed some games before, was taken out of the lineup, seemed to lose his confidence, and then got it back. We saw a look at the U.S. bench, so they may be going the substitute route. Stolmeyer and Eichmann were warming up. Stolmeyer's family has a lot of family here in Trinidad and spent a lot of time here. A lot of relatives still here. Coming back, USA trying to defend, and it will be pushed right back to Tony Miola.
Well, the Stolmeyer Castle sits up there, as it's called. One of 7 beautiful houses up there on the mountain.
32.5 minutes and an offside. 32.5 minutes remaining for the USA on their road to Italy. A road that started several months back in Costa Rica, in fact, before the USA played a home game in St. Louis. And what a difference in the lineup, though. Even from the game in Los Angeles, 5 changes in the lineup, including at the goalkeeper position. But the USA made some changes today. So far, they've paid off, and we'll see if it continues that way. Allen on his run, pushed off by Caligiuri, and a foul is called. Caligiuri detaining the runner. And now the USA will face this free kick. Put into play quickly, a right-footed shot. Broken up by John Doyle. Latifi turning inside, wanted to give and go. Broken up. Tritchu forcing the bad pass outside, but Trinidad and Tobago will still control. Boston picked up on the wing. On the cross, a diving header out of the box by John Doyle. And there's Vermees again. He's been able to hold the ball well today, and there's a lead pass. Will it stay in? Just too far for Crumpy, advancing from his back position.
Good. Again, super play by Peter Vermees, showing a lot of what he's learning, frankly, for having to play in the first division in Holland. You've got to fight off a lot of tough defenders as a target man.
Allen's pass had a bend to it. John Doyle on that far sideline. And on that battle, it is lost. Filbert Jones was in there battling away. Substitution getting ready on the far side for Trinidad and Tobago.
York, it looks like York is going to come out. The youngster York is being taken off. Is that right?
Well, if it's, I saw 16.
Yeah, well, that's York.
Well, let's check it out.
Yep, York has gone off.
Oh, we'll try to.
And number 8 has come on. That's Hudson
Charles.
Charles. Oh, my goodness. Uh-oh.
I was waiting for that.
Uh-oh. Hudson Charles is the one who's the man who scored the notorious goal in Torrance, California with 2 minutes to go. And they're obviously hoping for history to repeat itself here for Trinidad and Tobago.
Coming back now the left side. This is Boston. With 30 minutes to go. Unofficial time. Second half. USA leading at 1-0. It's put through the legs of Windersmith. And coming back, John Harks really had a long way to retreat from his midfield position. But that old theory, as we see a substitution getting ready to be made.
Crumpy, I think, is going to come out.
Is it Stolmeyer across the way? We're so far away.
It looks like his physique, and that would make sense from the point of view of what you take off and what you bring on. Stolmeyer very defensive. And as a midfielder.
Tritcher winning that ball. When Harks made that play with Windersmith there was the I'll save you, you save me attitude that the USA has really been using the past week. Really working hard as a team since they were brought together in Cocoa Beach, Florida. They've done a lot of things differently to prepare for this. They changed tactics somewhat, changed the lineup, changed the training routine. Really rolling all of the marbles for this, but good, sound, logical decisions were made, not panic decisions when it was down to this one last game. So far, again, they paid off. On the right side of the long cross, it is wide of Tony Meola. And out of play it goes. The USA still leading it 1-0 in this must-win game.
Funny. I'm in the mood for love.
Make everything seem more beautiful with new soft tone pastels. It's time to change your bulb to Philips.
9 minutes remaining here, and the USA leading it by the score of 1-0 in a game that they must win. A tie does them no good. I'm John Paul De La Camera with Seamus Mallon, and it looks like Paul Crumpy will go out and John Stolmeyer will come in. So they got 45 minutes plus out of Paul Crumpy, but now John Stolmeyer will take a turn for the USA. Now it's Williams. Upfield. Trinidad still controlling it with Allen. Left there for Lanape, and it's broken up. Another try here. Played right back out. Jamerson to the far side. Tritchu on his man there. And Boston tried to put it by him, it looked like, and receive his own ball. Up for Vermees, that's blocked Tritchu, and off the hand of a Trinidad player, and out of play it goes.
Well, Steve Tritchu doing better there. We've been a little bit critical of him earlier in this game, and recently he has had some problems, but there he did well to win that ball and try to get it forward to Vermees.
In Stolmeyer in that substitution, some fresh legs, some experience. Had to be tough for Crumpy to be able to play the full 90 minutes, although he did tell us before he thought he could do that, and he played, I believe, about 80 minutes in the game earlier this week against Bermuda.
Well, it's a very, very hot afternoon here in Port of Spain, and the pressure in this game is bad enough without the heat, and the heat obviously would take a toll a bit on most players.
Though it is good to see him back in the lineup. I think they've missed him. We've talked about the Perez injury, and you forget about the Paul Crumpies, who scored a couple goals against Canada, a goal and an assist against Jamaica in qualifying games.
And with Eichmann warming up now, it looks like you may forget about Perez.
Ball cleared out. Well, the thinking was that you'd use Perez if you needed the goal. If not, although they don't want to think as defensive as Bob Ganser was saying yesterday, Eichmann can do a lot of good things with the ball as well and is better defensively than Perez. Off a deflection. Meola coming out. Got it. He was bumped. And a kick was taken. I did not hear a whistle, although with the sound of this crowd, that would have been something had it gone off of Meola and then kicked in, but I believe it should have been stopped. Played upfield now for Murray. Vermees working there, and Williams took it away, but the referee's right there. He's done a good job, as you had said earlier, and he's been very consistent in his calls.
Well, the United States team really does need some possession, though, JP. They can't just continue to rely on clearing the ball up into the other third of the field and hoping for mistakes at the other end. I mean, mistakes have come in the past in Trinidad and Tobago, but at the moment they just really got to take take some possession and do some more dangerous things in the way of attack.
That's what it cost him in Los Angeles. Ramos sending it in, and it goes over Michael Maurice.
Corner kick.
I didn't see the deflection. You did.
Yeah, and the referee pointed straight to the corner.
So the USA with a dangerous chance here. That's 4 corners, none for Trinidad today. We'll see what the U.S. does with this. Ramos will go over to take it on that far side. Time remaining. 25 minutes, 25 seconds. Again, it's unofficial time. USA leading it 1-0 on a Paul Caligiuri goal from the man taking that kick, Ramos. A hot sunny day here in Trinidad. On the bender. Doyle was going up but couldn't get to it. And that's a bad one. Shanked out by Latipi. They'll take another corner. So the USA with a similar chance here. They've done a lot of work this week on corner kicks and set pieces in general, on their throw-ins, trying to get a quicker pace. Ramos on the in-swinger. Williams with a header. Not out of danger. Harks a low ball into the area, but it's cleared straight up by Allen. John Stolmeyer heading it back into the area. Vermees and Murray are there, and it just goes wide. But some dangerous runs in the area this afternoon by both Murray and Vermees.
Yeah, Murray doing very well to get up in the air and flick that one on. Unfortunately, Vermees had come wide behind him rather than going a bit more central, and the flick on was therefore to no avail. But Vermees still impressing me a great deal with everything that he has done so far in this game. He's given them the possession when the ball's in play to him, JP, and he's taken some air out of the ball, as they say. He's been able to keep it away from Trinidad and in the offensive third of the field, and just hasn't scored, but he's done everything else very, very well.
Well, that road to Italy is 24 minutes away for the U.S. national team. They lead it by the score of 1-0.
Well, it was 4 minutes away for China. And it didn't happen.
Well, I set you up with that line anyway. Windishman back for it. I kind of threw that one out for you. That was a free one.
China was winning 1-0 against Qatar,
right?
with 4 minutes to go. They gave up two goals in the last 4 minutes. Qatar beat them. Qatar did not qualify. Instead, they made the road for the United Arab Emirates, who will be the smallest country in the world at the World Cup, unless Trinidad and Tobago go, in which case they would be the smallest country.
On that foul, Williams will put it in play on the free kick. Ball played into the area. No turn as Harks blocked it away. Up for Tab Ramos, and the USA is off on the left side. Tab Ramos only played it, must have went out of play there.
There's a foul, I think.
Okay.
Or maybe
well,
not.
we'll
maybe
tell you
not.
in a second
I
if he
thought,
throws it in or if he kicks it.
Yeah, I thought Tab was fouled.
Back a few strides.
Tab has done a pretty good job holding the ball in midfield for them too. Caligiuri and Ramos have had good games. Oh, nice flick on there.
Nice flick to Murray. Cut off well there by Dexter Francis. But again, Vermees and Murray working well together. Coming back now, it's Trinidad. Pass to Allen. Elliot Allen on the left-footed touch for Foster. They'll be able to keep this one in play against Stolmeyer. Moving it outside of the area. The attempted cross blocked by Harks. The first corner kick of the day for Trinidad and Tobago.
Well, let's see what kind of a set piece they have if they're bringing anybody up from the back. There's some people up front who can jump, so I don't need anybody up from the back.
A little more shade in that goalkeeper's area for Miola. But there's still a lot of sun in that area itself, in the penalty area. Short corner.
2 against 1. Now it's played back.
Into the area, up into the air, headed once to the outside. Stolmeyer sending it the other way. Put back down by Trinidad and Tobago. Latipi, ever dangerous, into the area. Blocked once and then twice. It's still loose there. And a foul is going to be called on Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah, Bruce Murray coming all the way back to help out there. One of the things you've got to worry about, of course, as a defender here today, JP, is that when these Trinidad and Tobago players get into the penalty area with the ball at their feet, they can combine quickly, they can move and turn quickly, and if your tackle is tentative or ill-timed, you can suddenly draw penalties.
Looks like he's got the eye shadow too underneath there to block some of the sun that you see a lot of the football players wearing. So that sun has been treacherous today. The USA may have capitalized, although it was a very well-placed and taken shot by Caligiuri, but they may have capitalized a little bit. on that strong sun the other way, and Miola was bound and determined not to make that be a factor for him. I don't know what Maurice was wearing in the first half, if he had any kind of shadow underneath his eyes, but he was not wearing any kind of a visor or hat in that first half. Time remaining, 20 minutes, 40 seconds. USA leading it 1-0. A lot of fans back home would breathe easier if the USA could get another goal and make it 2-0. But that is easier said than done in World Cup qualifying play. Good run back the other way, pushed back by Caligiuri to Miola.
comes the dangerous speed merchant.
Lewis, couple blocks there, but Lewis maintains possession. We apologize for an audio loss that we've had here in Trinidad in attempting to bring you this World Cup qualifying game. It's a 1-0 USA lead with just over 12 minutes to go. Miola off his line to pick it up. Well, the Trinidad crowd is now starting to pick themselves up a little bit to try and give a boost to the home team. Everyone wearing red today. I mean, that's quite a spectacle here. As we told you earlier, some people were here 6.5 hours prior to the game to get the best seat that they could. The game was sold out in advance. People watching it on remote screens. 3 of them brought in from Detroit from Mobile Vision earlier in the week. At a tremendous expense, we might add. Ball played up now by Stolmeyer.
And some controversy even about that, JP, as one of the screens was not placed on Tobago. And those people out there feel that they have been slighted by the Football Federation and planners.
Well, you can't please everybody, right?
Everybody,
you just can't do it. Right side of the field is where Trinidad will play it. Trinidad and Tobago with Brian Williams. Again, whether they win or lose or tie, they've declared it a national holiday tomorrow here in Trinidad.
Oh, that's a dangerous ball.
Harks got it. John Harks with a good play. And now Ramos trying to play it up to Murray. Stepping in and winning it, though, is Dexter Francis with a little bit of room. Outside the area. Windishman in that battle with him. And they're going to give it to the USA. Tony Miola will put it in play. Frankly, that's a good sign because you don't want to see a corner kick at that point. Under 11 minutes to go.
Well, Murray is still hobbling, and U.S. has 2 players warming up, Eichmann and Banks, with, I reckon, maybe 10 minutes to go at the most in this game. Maybe 11.
Well, 10.5, would you believe? At least unofficially. On the right side of the field, here's Brian Williams.
And lots of possession to Trinidad, which has hurt the U.S. in the game in California.
And just clearing it away is Windishman. That one goes a long way, and out of play it goes. Trinidad and Tobago will have a throw-in coming up. Under 10 minutes now to go. Marvelous atmosphere here, the likes of which the USA has frankly never seen. With this kind of a crowd, this kind of a reaction. They were dancing and singing before the game, and now they start to wave the flags. They know that it's down to 10 minutes or so. In fact, now about 9:40 to go.
They just want a goal. A tie is all they need. Let's repeat, the U.S. needs a victory.
They're singing, "We want a goal" here in Trinidad on the left side. There's an attempt by Foston, and Windishman took him right out of the play. But quickly, Stolmeyer followed up on that lead. And here's Ramos. Good job working the sidelines. Up to Vermees. Trying to beat his man Morris to the outside. Stride for stride. Peter Vermees, good job of controlling it. Cutting to the inside. Out to Ramos. When you talk about time, Vermees took about 20 seconds there from start to finish. And the USA will get a corner kick out of it. USA leading it 1-0 with less than 9 to go here in Trinidad.
Pool. Steve Miserak, the master.
Or less away from a victory and a chance at the World Cup in Italy in 1990. Caligiuri's goal from this man, Tab Ramos, the only goal of the game in the 31st minute. USA with that 1-0 edge. Ramos wants to reset the ball.
The linesman is unhappy, actually. He thought it was a little bit over the arc.
Well, it'll kill a little time, so the U.S. won't complain. Here's Ramos in. Maurice, I thought time just jumped a little bit late, but he's there.
And nobody there challenging for the U.S. Vermees exhausted, I should think. Good interception here by Harks.
Players still warming up on the sideline for the USA. Ramos putting it across, and that's broken up.
Vermees, as I said, got to be very tired. He's worked hard. Murray hobbled a little bit, hurting. Harks still running around as much as he can. The U.S. showing a lot of competitiveness, as we talked about. But there's still about eight minutes to go.
Brian Williams on the right. Bringing it towards the area. That's broken up. Running out of there is Windishman on that left side. Sidesteps a man and goes forward. That's a long run upfield for Windishman, who has stayed at home. And now he'll retreat back as the USA maintains possession. That's been a criticism of the USA that Windishman has the capability to go forward, but under the scheme of things has not done that. But there he picked a great time. Ramos working the sideline like he owns it. Knocked out a play and a throw in for the U.S., but they're doing a lot of things better than they did in their first meeting with this team.
They're also leading a lot of players home. Well, what we mean by that is they're not, as soon as they win the ball, they're not making 45, 50-yard runs to support an attack here. They don't need players supporting attack. They need energy conserved and killing the ball a little bit, killing the game a bit, and not killing themselves.
Coming back now, Trinidad with the ball was Allaby. Now to Clayton Morris. Under 7 minutes to go. There is no overtime. There are no penalty kicks in this round of World Cup qualifying. USA leads it 1-0. Cutting across. Trinidad playing it to the opposite side of the field. Stutter steps outside of the area now. A Jameson's shot was wide of Tony Meola. What were those gestures about?
Meola speaking to the ball there.
I guess.
You're not going between the posts. You can go anywhere you like, but you're not going between the posts. As we look at the replay, the ball goes skidding across the goal. He sees it all the way and says, no problem.
Meola sending it long over midfield.
We've got 6 minutes to go, and the U.S. hanging on. But remember, 2 minutes were left in Torrance. And we hate to keep reminding you of that, but it's impossible not to think of that at this stage, with the U.S. doing everything well so far. And Trinidad really throwing everything into attack, but the U.S. being composed and competitive, as we speculated they would be before the beginning of this game.
Ball cleared long now by the U.S. Murray trying to race under it. If the USA can hold on, we may have the smallest party ever held after a soccer game, because there's not that many people in Trinidad that were rooting for the USA to win. About maybe 50, 60 people made the trip from the USA, some sponsors, some friends, some parents. And they'll be noisy if the USA will hang on and win this. Here comes a run for the ball with Lewis. Off a shot, it was deflected wide of Meola, maybe off one of his own players, not Tony's, because it's going to be a goal kick coming up.
Well, again, you see the finish here, but player a little disappointed to be there was Stolmeyer, who let his man get away from him and put some distance between him. As we look at about 4.5 minutes to go in this game, John Stolmeyer is there for competitive reasons in midfield, defensive competitive reasons. And that means he's got to work doubly hard, because he's been sitting for a good part of this game. And we don't want to pick on any one player, but I would have hoped to see him work a little harder on that particular piece on the right side of midfield here. John now dropping back. Defensive midfield, the U.S. getting a lot of players back, as many as they can, as John Doyle brings his man down.
So Trinidad will put it back in play with just over 4 minutes to go. Ball played by Foston to Hudson Charles. Lifted into the area, headed out by John Doyle. Back near midfield, reversed for Trinidad. Far side, and the referee will give the ball to the USA. John Stolmeyer will put it in play. John Harks now may take it. He is going to take it instead. John Harks from the University of Virginia.
Well, we've got 3.5 minutes to go, and the U.S. are that close to being on the way to Italy. And nobody's counting anything. Police now beginning to ring the field.
Broken up at midfield. It's been a long, bumpy road to Italy, but the USA is hoping that the next 3 minutes it'll be a lot smoother. We'll see. Ramos on the left. All the way on that far side for Bliss. He almost sprung Murray. Almost. That security you were talking about really out in force now, lining up so that fans do not go out there in the field. Under 3 minutes to go. USA leading it 1-0 on Paul Caligiuri's goal. USA made a lot of moves coming into this one, and they have paid off. Some gutsy calls by head coach Bob Gansler, but they've worked. Doyle will clear it out. That's one of the changes that Bob Gansler made in the lineup. some 4 changes for the USA team in the do-or-die situation. Right side of the field, Jamerson's pass. Oh, the USA let that one get through into the area, and it was just deflected wide. Brian Bliss with it. Oh, just when you think it was safe to come out of the water.
Well, it's Hudson Charles time right now. It's 2 minutes to go. We're in the 88th minute of play. And the U.S. just hang on. Everybody here is out of breath. Players, announcers.
Announcers? What? Murray is coming back.
Well, this one is.
Play on. Yeah, well, you can speak for me. You can speak for me. Murray will just send it down, killing that clock or part of it. Well, our watch is 1:40. Coming back now. Clayton Morris going long. Steve Tritchu getting a bump in there. Now Doyle miskicked it. He'll get another try at it, though, and heads it strongly to John Harkes. John Harkes with it. That'll kill some time. It'll give the ball back the other way to Trinidad. But I'll tell you, at this point, I'd rather see them dump it than lose possession back in their own zone.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we're now in my watch, or in somebody's watch here that I've appropriated for the last few minutes.
Let's give him a plug. Charlie Schlegel, the head coach at Davidson. We've used his watch. We've got to plug him.
1 minute to go.
Some of his players are watching it at Davidson on their big TV screen there. Clayton Morris now back with it. Right side. Off a deflection. Stollmeyer and Tritchu. Tritchu cleared it to midfield. Played back the other way. Picked up by Latipi.
Dangerous Latipi.
Doyle and Latipi looked like he fell down to try and draw the foul, but the referee's had great position all day. I think that's why he's been so solid here. He's never been out of position during this game, or at least none that we've seen.
We've got 30 seconds on this watch. I don't know what the referee says.
I hope his says less. Ball cleared out by Windishman. Ramos coming back for the USA. A gutsy performance by a very young team that has gotten better with time. They've withstood a lot of criticism. Defensively, they've been outstanding. Offensively, they just simply couldn't buy a goal. Time running out. Precious seconds left. The USA on a Paul Caligiuri goal from Tab Ramos at the 31st minute are trying to hold on and go to Italy, and they do! The USA has realized a dream. They will qualify for the World Cup in 1990.
Unbelievable! Unbelievable!
Seamus, practice your Italian.
Where is Al Michaels when we need him?
Well, he already used the best line of the decade.
Incredible for the United States. Incredible for the United States. Despair in the goalkeeper for Trinidad and Tobago, but the United States has come through in a game when they were given very little chance down here. They showed the courage, they showed the competitiveness, JP, and they also showed the composure under pressure, which has been raised a lot about this team. And now they go to Italy with a tremendous defensive record and the all-important one-goal victory they looked for.
And lost in all of this, we talked about the USA needing a goal, but it's 4 consecutive games that a 20-year-old goalkeeper kept the score away. He has not given up a goal in 4 games. That's incredible.
And he is going to the land of his father.
That's right.
And his father is here.
That's right.
For this game. And I think, JP, if you ask him nicely, he might even give you a nice haircut. Because
it's too late for you, though, right?
Needed.
I'll tell you what, the USA has qualified. They're going to Italy. They win it by the score of 1-0 over Trinidad and Tobago.